Hey, Pastor Ray Barnett here with you. Glad that you could be with me here on the Oasis. And as always, I wish you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. Let me tell you something. It is an absolutely beautiful day here in upstate New York. As you can see, I'm in a t-shirt. It's about 65 degrees, very little wind, and obviously it's sunny. They say that this week is going to be, mid-60s. By the weekend, it's supposed to be in the 70s. Now, this is November 2nd. So we are definitely having a great fall so far. Who knows what the winter's going to be like, but great fall so far. Let me see if I can just give you a little shot of the Mohawk River. I'm in a different spot here. You can see up there, you can see the bridge. The locks are up, so I'm getting prepared for the ice and whatever else may come down this river. And it's really, really beautiful. One of the things I was thinking about as I was sitting here is how incredibly peaceful it is. Behind me, on occasion, and I can't show you where the nests are, but there's nests up in these trees, and you can see, one day I was sitting here and you see eagles just flying by and going about their business. Absolutely beautiful. I've told you many times, a lot of people around the country, don't appreciate how beautiful upstate New York is once you get past, let's say, New York City, even Westchester County, Rockland County, Greene, or rather Orange County, and all the way up to, just the entire state is just beautiful. Very few people get to know that. But let me talk to you today about a subject that we haven't visited in some time, and I would like to repeat it. I'll start off by saying that this subject will have more relevance for some of you than it will for all of you. That's for sure. But what I want to do is just to briefly talk about overcoming the stigma of mental illness. And quite naturally, as I begin the broadcast, a train goes by. Thought to myself, one of you are probably going to write to me and say, Pastor Ray, why don't you check the train schedules? And maybe someday I will. In any case, I want to talk to you about overcoming the stigma of mental health issues. One of the greatest problems that we have today, and this is a subject we visited a couple of times, but I haven't spoke about it in a while. One of the greatest problems in dealing with mental health issues, which includes anxiety and depression, many of you have been to doctors, and so whether you know your diagnosis or not, whether you've been told your diagnosis or not, some of you may not have. But if you visited a mental health professional, definitely, but even your family doctor, and you're having panic attacks and depressive episodes and so on, you're categorized as having some kind of mental health issue. And unfortunately, there is a great stigma that comes with these labels, whether it's bipolar depression or anxiety disorder or whatever. Of course, the extreme cases, schizophrenia, schizoid affective, and you got hundreds of other labels that people have, diagnoses. Whether the diagnosis is accurate or not, it doesn't even matter. You're still kind of stuck with that label. And the really unfortunate part of all of this is that it brings a type of, I'll use the word shame. That may not be your precise feeling, but it brings a type of shame. In other words, some of you are diabetic. And you could talk about your diabetes pretty freely and, not a problem. heart disease. You can talk about your heart disease, and not many people, though, are going to come out and say, well, I've been diagnosed as bipolar, with bipolar depression, or I have panic attacks. And it brings up the question as to why this is, in the 21st century, such a, I'll use the word shame once again, that we have to live like this. But for the moment, we're stuck with it. Again, you can talk about your diabetes or your stomach issues, cancer, heart disease, other things. And, nobody really bats an eyelash. Of course, they have some compassion and sympathy. Some will offer prayer, and not a big deal. But how many people live literally in the shadows, or figuratively, I should say, in the shadows with some kind of mental health diagnosis? It's unfortunate that having anxiety, depression, and so on has an attachment to your character. Now, I'm not saying that it is attached to your character. I'm saying that that's how it's associated. It's associated with your character, in some cases your moral character, intellectual capacity, whatever. And that's obviously, well, I say obviously, that's really not the case, because I have mentioned to you that the majority of people that I know or have dealt with that have some type of anxiety, depression, and so on are very intelligent people. Yet, you have to go about it as though you're in hiding, like some kind of refugee, because of your diagnosis. Again, whether you know it or not. You're not going to go around telling people that you're on medication for anxiety. I'm not suggesting that you do. I'm just simply saying. Diabetes, heart disease, cancers, people talk about it. People tell me all the time. They tell anybody, yeah, I'm being treated for cancer. Going for cancer treatments. They talk about it very openly. There's no sense of shame. But a medical condition, such as a overly sensitized nervous system, seems to not have escaped the stigma of, well, the type of words that people use. I looked them up once. In fact, I used it in my dissertation that I did years ago on the Bible and mental health. And a PhD dissertation, and I went through a list of the names that are used to talk about people. People say, well, he's just a lunatic, or yeah, he's batty, or well, they have all these labels, and you wonder why. I mean, people with diabetes aren't labeled, people with cancer aren't labeled, people with heart disease aren't labeled, beyond the obvious, but people that have overly sensitized nervous systems, and the accompanying symptoms, which we talk about on this channel, it seems as though you're marginalized over here. I don't know, honestly, I really don't know the reason for this, although I do know many mental health advocates are doing their best to overcome this stigma, but from what I can see and observe, it hasn't gone, with the public at large, it hasn't gone too terribly far. In other words, people are still kind of ashamed. So what I'm here to tell you is this. In overcoming this stigma that has just hung around for whatever reasons, you don't have to be ashamed of the fact that your nervous system is more sensitive than most other people's. You don't have to be ashamed any more than if it was diabetes, heart disease, cancers, and all these different things. You don't have to be ashamed. Now, what other people think, what other people may say behind your back, unfortunately, some people will say it to your face. That's not the norm, that's not the average, but some people will. But I'm telling you, don't be ashamed that your particular area of weakness in the body happens to deal with the nervous system. And again, all the symptoms that I mentioned on this channel. What others do, once again, we don't control that. You don't control that. But you do not need to feel ashamed of the fact that your nervous system is the weak area of your body. For example, there is no one on the planet that doesn't have some type of weakness in their body. Again, it could be their stomach. They have frequent stomach issues. Again, heart, when it's really related to the heart, not the nervous system, and cancers. And they don't feel any shame. Then why should you go around feeling shame that your particular weakness is in the area of your nervous system? Let me give you another example. I know people who work out in the gym, and their genetics, mostly guys now, they want to be big. They want to look imposing when they're walk out of their car or whatever. But their genetics just don't lend to it. So what they do is they reach for the steroids, and they begin to inject themselves or take pills and supplements, not supplements, but illegal drugs. And then all of a sudden they have this appearance. Just today I had a conversation with a young guy, and we were talking about some of our fellow stablemates in the gym. And there's one younger guy who it's absolutely beyond question. This guy's been doing steroids. For years he was, really thin. That's just his genetics, which I don't know why he wants to play around with that. And then all of a sudden, it looks like, he just inflated himself. But the thing I have to give this guy credit for is that he doesn't deny that he's on steroids. Now, I have met people who are absolutely on steroids, and they will actually claim when someone confronts them on it, I'm all natural. Which, if you've been around as long as I have, and some others in the area of strength training and working out and weightlifting, everybody knows they're on steroids. So I give this is an example that's very pertinent to you. I give him credit, not that he does steroids, but I give him credit that he doesn't deny it. I give him credit for that, I really do. And he actually made a statement to the fact of, I don't know why these other guys around, that everybody knows they're on illegal steroids. They're illegal drugs. And this one guy, he's just not afraid, not ashamed to say, yeah, I do steroids. It's obvious I do steroids. I got to give him credit, I really do. Now, the relation to what I'm talking about in this young guy is fairly similar. I'm not suggesting that you go out and tell everybody today, hey, guess what? I've been suffering from depression for most of my life, or for years, or anxiety and panic attacks. I'm just simply saying, inside yourself, don't be ashamed that your particular weakness in your physical body is not in your stomach or your heart or anything else. It happens to be in the nervous system, a major system, right, obviously, of the body. And that your weakness, that is something you were born with. Well, in most cases, it's something you were born with. You can develop it. Either way, it's just the way the body has been, I wouldn't say designed, because, sin has affected us on this planet in every way. I'm simply saying, why go around inside yourself as though you're, again, some kind of refugee from, or fugitive from the law, because you're not. So the point here today is this, that you have to be comfortable inside yourself saying, yeah, I have nervous symptoms. They torment me. They torture me. They're so much getting in the way of my life. But you don't have to feel guilty. See, because all the guilt and the ensuing anger, and if you have people who have actually made fun of you, that's not good. That's not right. But it's just the way it is. So I'm simply exhorting you to acknowledge the obvious. You have nervous symptoms. This is maybe a strange way to phrase it, but get comfortable admitting to yourself, my issue is in my nervous system. It's overly sensitized. It responds to stress differently than the average individual. And get comfortable with that truth. Again, doesn't mean you have to advertise it. Just get comfortable inside yourself that, yeah, this is what's my issue and it's my problem. Boy, I hope before I pass from this world, we could see the stigma of mental health issues totally disappear, and people could talk about them the way they talk about diabetes and heart disease and cancers. But at the moment, that doesn't seem to be entirely likely. mostly because of the mysterious nature that is associated, or that accompanies, nervous symptoms. But I just want you to be relaxed with the fact that your body is, your particular issue is an overly sensitized nervous system, and you've developed symptoms and you struggle with them. Just don't be ashamed of it. That's my word for you. The rest of society, we can't control them, what they do, what they say. But for you, just don't be ashamed that your particular weakness is in your nervous system. And then we'll keep doing these broadcasts, so hopefully I can offer you some help. Let me pray for you today that God will help you to not be ashamed that your weakness happens to be in your nervous system. Let people do what they're going to do. Don't worry about them. Don't, like I said the other day, a couple of broadcasts ago, don't let anybody steal your peace. And don't let them put you in a box as though you're some type of monstrosity of this world, because you're not. All right? Let me pray for you that you can overcome inside yourself this feeling of shame so that you can be at peace. Father, I pray for my friends, and I do pray that they would embrace the fact that it just happens to be their nervous system that gives them trouble. For other people, it's other things. And though we're stuck with this situation for now, help them, all my friends that watch this broadcast, to be at peace with the fact that it is what it is. And with Christ's help, they will overcome them. Amen. And that's my prayer for you. That was the goal we set out with. The year's almost coming to an end in about 8 weeks. That some of you would overcome your symptoms by the end of the year, which is 2022. And many of you are very close. Some of you have already launched off into finding yourself gaining tremendous relief from the things I've told you, the things that I've taught you. All right. That's it for today on this absolutely gorgeous day. It looks like it's going to be this way for the rest of the week. I'm sitting here in a t-shirt. But I do invite you to subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed, hit the notification button. For those of you who are sharing the broadcast, please continue to share them. There's so many people out there. And this is the very point, too. They're suffering from the very same things you're suffering from, but some walk around undiagnosed. Some walk around with a sense of shame. They can't talk. They feel they can't talk about it. But anyway, share the broadcast. Hit the notification button. Sign on to this broadcast, and hopefully you, if you're not subscribed, can get the same relief that many others who watch this broadcast are getting. All right, that's it for today. And as I always remind you every single time I sign off from this broadcast, you make sure, especially related to this subject, you make sure that the peace of Christ rules in your heart. God willing, I'll see you here again tomorrow on the Oasis. God bless.